Welcome back. On today's video, we're talking about going to college. Should you go? Is it the right move for you? What are the benefits of going to college and why may you not want to go? This is a very personal decision. It affects you for life and it's not something you should make lightly. So this is a quick video. If you're going to take this into account at all, you need to do a lot of research. Make sure that you're doing what is right for you. Encourage your family members to give you advice and their opinions because they're the ones that really know you best. And then make the best decision for you. And don't make it solely off this video, of course. So there's a few different pieces that I would consider if I was looking at going to college. And it starts with number one, again, this is your personal choice. It's not right for everyone, and it's absolutely not wrong for everyone. And in my general opinion, most people should go to college. And I'll get to why here in a few minutes. So when you're making this decision, don't make it based on emotion at all. You need to make sure this is based on facts. It's based on how you work best as yourself, what options are available to you. And once you have all that information, you can make that decision. And again, here's another piece. Once you make that decision, you don't have to live with it for life. You can always decide to do it later in life. Here's a few things that I would look at. Number one, where would you go? There's a lot of different types of colleges, and that's based on a few different factors. What kind of career field do you want to go into? Some schools are better than others. A lot of times, though, companies don't necessarily care where you go to school, depending, again, on the field that you're going into. And then the cost needs to come in. Along with cost, how will you pay for it? Do you have a college fund? Will you have to take out student loans? Will you get government grants? Can you get scholarships? All of those play into it. If you have to take out loans for the whole amount, that may make one person's decision different than someone else who has grants available to them. Then, what career field do you want to go into? Do your research. Does it require a college degree? Are there other options such as internships or apprenticeships that you may be able to look at? Can you get in with a company that will pay for your college as you go? There's a lot more companies that are starting to do that now. I believe that Costco and Starbucks are two companies that offer college tuition reimbursement programs. Those are great ways to have income while you're going to school, but also get part of your education paid for. College also exposes you to a lot of options. Many people go into college with one degree in mind and come out with a different degree because they find that they're really not that interested in the one that they went for, but there's other options that they're able to find that interest them more. That is a very valuable tool that honestly we should have more classes, in my opinion, in high school that give you that type of training, but it is a good resource for you to be able to recognize. And then in college, you network a lot with other people. Some people build a network that lasts a lifetime through their college experience. There's many fields that don't require a college degree. We're going to touch on that more here in a second. And then finally, there's also a lot of fields that do not require a college degree. The trades, for example, construction, welding, all of those, electricians, plumbers, those are great fields to go into, understanding they're going to be more cyclical, and also understanding that they generally require more work outside of business hours in my experience. A lot of times you'll have different rush jobs that need to be done, or you'll have emergency call outs on some of them that need to be done. But they are very viable fields, and currently people in the trades are making a significant amount of money, sometimes more than college educated people. But remember, it's physical labor. And then historically also, people with college degrees, because of the more options available to them, have more stability in the job market. During ups and downs, they are generally in more demand. So let's jump into a couple of articles that I was looking at, and I can show you what I'm seeing. So for example, here's an article by CBS News talking about people working with degrees, and here's some of the facts that you've got to take into account when you're determining if you're going to go to college or not. More than half of Americans who earned a college degree find themselves working in a job that doesn't require a bachelor degree or utilize their skills acquired in obtaining one. So many people, and in fact that's actually reinforced here by this article from Next Gen Personal Finance, ngpf.org. A question of the day, they surveyed 1,000 college graduates, said what percentage of college graduates work in their field of study, and only 46% out of this 1,000 people were working within their field. Now, that's actually amplified if we take it a little bit deeper. And let's look a little bit deeper into what this looks like. So, this is an article by Pew Research, pewresearch.org. Nearly 4 in 10 Americans ages 25 and older have a bachelor's degree, so that's 25%, a share that has grown over the last decade. So in this group, it says 37.9% of adults in this group held a bachelor's degree. 14.3% also obtained a graduate or professional degree, higher than a bachelor's degree. It talks, and we're going to skip some of the gender and racial pieces simply because they're not relevant to this video. But we're talking about also 62% of students who started a degree or certification finished their program within 6 years. So that's a fairly high dropout rate. Only 62%. That means we've got another 38% that are not finishing within 6 years. They may go back and get it later. They may not. Business is the most common held bachelor's degree. Then it's followed by health. Here's the important piece, though. There's a growing earnings gap between young college students and their counterparts without degrees. And this is a 2021 number, so remember, we've had a lot of inflation between then and now. Full-time workers 22 to 27 who held a bachelor's degree made an average of $52,000 per year, compared with $30,000 for their full-time workers with only a high school diploma or no degree. That's a fairly substantial gap. We're talking about $22,000 there. And this is widened over time. So that is something to absolutely keep in mind. If you're able to get into a field that immediately compensates you at the same level as college graduates, that's one thing. But if you're going to be making significantly less over time, it's worth considering if that income gap is something you can overcome. Here's something else, especially as we go into lower economic times or worse economic times. The unemployment rate is lower for college graduates than workers without a bachelor's degree. And that widened during the coronavirus, probably because they were able to either work remotely. If you have an office job or a professional job that is able to be done remotely, that's going to obviously keep paying you, whereas most people with the coronavirus or COVID-19 that didn't have that type of work, if their company got shut down, they weren't making money. Recent college graduates are more likely than graduates overall to be underemployed. Now, this is a trend that we're seeing, and there were several articles that I saw as I got into this video that did show that recent college graduates are underemployed, meaning they're not making as much as they expected once they got out to the workforce. And they may stay in those fields for longer, therefore not making as much money over time. So if someone does graduate and accepts a low-paying job, they need to be on the lookout for opportunities to move up within the company, to get raises, to take on new responsibilities, or leave the company when the opportunity presents itself to find a better job. When it comes to income and wealth accumulation, first-generation college graduates lag behind those with college-educated parents. So as people have a higher education level for generations, the generational education tends to produce more wealth, higher returns, and better economic conditions overall. You can see why that would make sense, because educated parents, people who have that sophistication, are able to educate their children as well, and over time the accumulation of wealth can compound. Those are all benefits that come from higher education. Now, again, is it still right for everyone? No, there's many people without a college degree who start businesses or are able to get in a field that pay them very well. This is simply giving us the statistics. We need to understand what are the statistics, what are the overall returns as a whole, and what makes us exceptions to the rule if we decide not to go to college. Keep in mind also the cost of college education continues to skyrocket at unprecedented rates. So that plays a factor, because most people, if they can't pay for their education outright, they're having to take out student loans, and student loans have to be paid back after you graduate, and generally you have a lot of interest on those loans, so it can be a cycle that is hard to get out of. Let's hop into looking at median income in the United States. This is a 2023 number by educational attainment, because again, facts matter in this type of a decision. This is from Statista, or Statista.com, and this talks about the median household income by the educational attainment of the household. So people with less than a ninth grade education, start at about $35,900 or $690. Ninth to 12th, $37,000. High school graduate, and again, this is overall across the board. This isn't just getting out of high school or college like we showed in some of the previous graphs. High school education on average make $55,810. Some college, $70,000. Associate's degree, $78,000. A bachelor's degree, that is a fairly significant pop. Now, is everyone that gets out of college making $117,000? No, not at all, of course. This may take years to accumulate because this is everyone that has that level. But that is a significant gain in income. Master's degree does give some sort of an increased pop, $136,000. A professional degree, $172,000, and then it actually goes backwards a little bit for a doctorate. That's an interesting trend. So it looks like at some point there is a saturation point in the education benefits. A doctorate does not produce as much as a professional degree. One other chart I wanted to go through, and this is very important when you're looking at either going to college or not going to college. Even if you are going to college and you know that, you need to look at your field. You need to look at what is the average income that I can expect to make in that field. And you could even break it down usually by location. There's a lot of websites like Glassdoor and some of the statistical websites that show what is the average income for your profession in the area that you plan on living. And make sure that that's what you expect. I had someone that was looking at becoming a professional photographer, and they were very disenchanted to learn that they'd expect to make, and this was a number of years ago, but they would expect to make in the $30,000 a year range in a city. Now, do all photographers make that little? No, of course not. There's exceptions to every rule, but that was the average. And unless you are a much better photographer than average, you need to know what you can expect to make. So this table is from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, bls.gov. You can get in here and find the different occupations, how many people are employed in that, and then of course the most important piece, the mean hourly wage and the annual mean wage. And we're going to focus on the annual mean wage. So what I'm using this chart for currently is to look at the fields that probably require a degree, the ones that probably do not, and where would it fall if you had a degree. So I'm just going to come over here and sort by the wage. Click that twice, and you can start seeing what the average makes. Pediatric surgeons absolutely need higher education. You're going to need a professional degree for that, but on average they make $449,000 a year. Not too shabby. You can afford to pay back some student loans with that. Cardiologists, same thing. Orthopedic surgeons, except pediatric, make $378,000. Radiologists, $353,000. Surgeons, all of these so far, you're going to require some sort of a professional degree. You'll see these are all health fields too. Something interesting to keep in mind. So we're still in the health fields. Chief executives, if you're a CEO, $258,900 on average. Psychiatrists, so we're still in the range of people that need some sort of a professional degree. Then we get into, physicians, all others, orthodontists, family practice medicine, nurse anesthetist. This does require a college degree, but it doesn't require a full anesthesiology degree. On average, they're making $214,000 a year. Not too bad. I do want to point out there's some in here. When you get into sales that I have actually seen medical salespeople in the device field that do not require a college degree. Now, granted, that required some sort of self-employment, and they were also making the upper $200,000 range. But you can see so far, when you get into this higher level, all of these, I would say at least down to this level right here, your general dentists who are making $191,000, those all require higher education, and all of them generally require some sort of a professional degree. Now, computer and information system managers, do those all require degrees? I would say probably not. There are people who are very good at computers, very good at the computer infrastructure management or coding that would not necessarily require a degree. And we're able to see it up in the $180,000 range. But then getting back down from that, lawyers, you absolutely need higher professional degree for that. Financial managers, maybe not. However, in the financial field, they are generally, in my experience, very driven by your pedigree. What does it look like? Because they're posting these people's information generally on websites, and they want to show that they have some sort of formal education. So generally, I would say that needs it also. Lawyers, judicial law clerks, absolutely. So far, we're still in the fields that require education, and these are all in the six figures, high six figure fields. Now we're getting into an area, though, that may not. Sales managers. Sales management is typically driven by performance. So the average sales manager, it says here, is making $157,000 a year, and I would, from personal experience, tell you that not all sales managers have any advanced degrees. Not all of them have a college education. Most of them do, but there are people who are exceptional at sales, who are able to get polished, be able to have the training they need to act professional, and not necessarily have to have a college degree. So that could work. Computer information and research scientists generally, again, would have a higher education, but in today's world where there are boot camps and other training and technical places that you can go for additional education, you may not need a college degree to be a computer and informational search scientist. Operations specialist managers or specialties managers probably don't need a college degree, but is probably highly desired because you're working for a larger organization to have an operations manager. Human resource managers, generally, yes. Let's keep on going down and look at some of these. But you can see so far we are dozens of career fields into this, and most of the higher education ones, most of the higher income producing careers do require not just a higher education, but a professional degree. You'll see as we get down into those here, though, that starts to drop off. Compensation and benefit managers, you probably still need a degree for. Personal finance advisors, absolutely. Computer hardware engineers, not necessarily. Purchasing managers, if you come up through the company, if you are able to start at a lower level and advance in your career, you may not need a college degree for that. Managers, all others, absolutely do not need a career or a degree for that. Optometrists, of course. Law teachers, yes. Judges, training and development managers, not necessarily. Software developers, no. You can, if you have the skills, you can be a software developer without the degree. Now, it's harder to do because you have to do it on your own. But if you go through other training, there's other educations, tech companies will a lot of times help develop people. And then there's technical training groups that will offer different opportunities to be able to learn how to develop software, and a college degree is not going to be mandatory for that. Management occupations, database, neither of those are going to require a college degree, but it will help you with a college degree. You can still see, though, we're in the area where a lot of these do require college degrees. Legal occupations, actually, you can get into the legal field as a paralegal without having a college degree, but you will be limited to that for a certain amount of time. Some states will allow you to get into to become a lawyer and sit for the bar without having the formal training if you work for a law company for a certain number of years. However, that is very difficult. So keep in mind, if you're looking at some of these fields, you have to become the exception to the rule, and it would be much easier and more likely to become successful with that backup degree. Fundraising managers, not necessarily. Economists, probably. Actuaries, political scientists, yes, you're going to want to have that. Nurse midwives, not necessarily, but you do have to have formalized training and certification. So not necessarily a higher degree, but you do have to have certification for that, which does require additional education. Let's keep on looking through here. General and operations managers, not necessarily. Again, if you have the track record and performance, the college degree becomes less and less important. Nuclear engineers, absolutely, you're going to need to have some sort of a degree. Information security analysts, not necessarily. It depends on your skill. But again, most of these, we're still seeing the fields, and we're in the low 100,000s now, where you are going to need to have an advanced degree, or at least a college bachelor's degree, maybe an associate's degree, depending on where you're at. Construction managers, it's easier to get if you have that paper, if you have the degree, but there are people that are skilled enough to not have to have it. Sales representatives, not necessarily. Now, I will tell you, in having been in the work field for a number of years now, there are certain fields that require a degree. Medical, the drug sales companies highly desire college degrees. It doesn't have to be in the field at all, But I have seen people be able to get in that field simply because they had a degree, not because they had a track record of sales or they weren't the best person for the job, simply because the companies required that degree. Companies are getting away from that, according to the people that I'm talking to, though. So it's not a guarantee that you need the degree, and having a degree is not a guarantee that you'll get in, but it is easier to get in. Computer or occupations, no, you do not need a degree in computers. You just need to have skills. And college does help you, but boot camps can do that, and you can train yourself on computer type topics, coding, computer development, software development. All that is something that people can do on their own. As we're getting down, we're starting to see there are more and more options. Now, what you'll see also is generally the higher degrees do require, or the higher paying fields do require, some sort of an advanced education. So depending on how high up you want to go in a company, that degree may help. But also, depending on your personal situation, you may be able to get your degree at a later point in life. My recommendation still is get your degree if you can, and if you can do it without lots of debt, because it opens up the options. But as you can see, now that we're getting into the lower income levels, and $100,000 is still a good solid income. The average in the United States, I want to say, is in the $60,000 range right now, so this is still good. And there are options. It's just a matter of where do you cap out? What are you going to do? Do you want to earn more than that at a certain point in your life? But now we're getting into the area where there are a lot of people, or a lot of fields that do allow for people to make a good income and not have to have a college degree. So coming back full circle, is college right for you? The only one that can answer that is you and those who are around you, who know you, who have experience. Don't discount parents, grandparents, people that you know who are successful, who know you, who can give you the best advice. A quote that keeps on coming up if you watch any social media at all is, don't take advice from people who have never attained the level of success you want to have. And that is partially true. It's true because the people that have attained the success know what to do, know what it requires, and they know you. But it's also important to take into account people who know and love you and have nothing to gain from it. Generally, that may be parents, siblings, grandparents, friends that actually care for you. We want to make sure we're taking advice from people who have our best interests at heart and not want to hold us back. And unfortunately, there are plenty of those. So when you're looking at making a decision of going to college, look at the cost, look at how you'll pay for it, look at what you can make over time in that field, and then decide if you need to go. It's always okay to go for a year, find out what it's like, find out if it's right for you. And it's okay to look into, and you absolutely should look into, options to pay for it. Can you get grants? Can you get scholarships? Can you get internships that will then offer college tuition assistance? Can you get a job with a company that offers tuition reimbursement? All of those are great options. And of course, look at how much you will make at the end of your field, or at the end of your education. When you graduate, is the income minus the student loans worth the experience? If all of that says yes, great. If it says no, explore your options. I hope this video has been helpful. If it has, please give us a like. If you like this type of content, consider subscribing to the channel. And if you know someone who may benefit from this video, please do share. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you on the next one.